This radio is powered by Streamline, the superior internet radio hosting service that provides our SOCAN license coverage. Visit streamline.com for more.
Like confetti in a windstorm.
Welcome to Story to Screen here on KPEO World Community Radio, where we're rocking the film world each week on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go online, download the app, and listen in weekly with new guests and music, or catch the replay on wearestarfish.org. This is Story to Screen, and I'm your host, Erik Krefeld. Let's dive in.
On the boulevard.
Hey guys, it's Eric here. Story to Screen, another great week. I've got an amazing filmmaker once again here with us, Aaron, and I'm going to probably kill his last name like I do with everybody, but I'm going to go for it, Schwartzbart.
Perfect.
Yes.
Aaron Schwartzbart.
Yes, I'm one for a million. All right.
You got this.
So, yes. You got Aaron here. Aaron has a really, really cool thing that he's up to, so I'm going to let him explain it to you guys. Take it away, Aaron.
Okay. Executive summary. I came out the womb hardwired to become a Ted Bundy or a Charles Manson every time I got a steering wheel in my hand. I was criminally insane for the first 30 years, not an exaggeration. Christians, now that I've been walking with Christ for over 30 years, I'm an ordained minister and all that stuff. People today scold me for exaggerating because they can't believe a guy as nice as me was ever a homicidal maniac. But that's what happens sometimes. That's what happened to Saul when he wasn't even looking for a change. I got born again about 30 years ago, and I've been using my pathological tendencies with the steering wheel for good in the community instead of being a problem in the community. In a relatively, from a relatively unique perspective of somebody who's been on the dark side. I don't excuse the behaviors of the young troubled kids that get sentenced by the courts to my anti-street racing program, but I can certainly understand their behaviors somewhat uniquely and show them a better way. I don't just tell people to stop driving fast. I redirect it to racetracks throughout the Western United States as a 5-time champion race car driver, a driving instructor, and the one who operates the anti-street racing campaign for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Wow. That is like awesome executive summary right there, man. And, and everything that this program is about, everything that the show is about is all about helping to redirect people's energies, moving them away from the destructive behaviors that we can fall into and leading them toward much more constructive things. Typically, as because we do it here, we with the filmmakers and the music people, and that's what we're generally pushing them towards, so that they can find that person that they can connect with and tell their story. And Aaron, you obviously have an incredible story to tell. The thing that you're doing. So we're going to watch a trailer or a clip, or I don't know what you want to refer to it as. We're going to watch a clip in a little bit. Can walk us through what you're doing there, because it's pretty cool to see.
Right. So we get kids from approximately 3 main places, although it doesn't have to just be kids. If we had all night, I could tell you wild stories about 80-year-old people with us and 6-year-old people with us, but primarily kids that are sentenced by the courts due to things like illegal street racing, kids that are sent by their parents who feel like I would be a good influence on their invincible youngster that has too much energy and not enough maturity and stuff like that to handle the steering wheel, and kids sent by LAUSD by the schools. Strangely enough, we have something out here called IEP. I'm not an expert on this, and that may be a nationwide term, or maybe it's just California, but any kid that doesn't quite fit the typical mold, quote unquote typical mold, knowing that our school system is broken in many, many ways, and what is typical is in no way quality education like you could have found in America 50 years ago. With that qualifier, the kids that don't fit that mold, they give this IEP acronym, and that could be a Stephen Hawking, that's the most brilliant physicist in my generation, is in that mold just because he's in a wheelchair or something. It could be somebody that has a learning disability that's completely opposite of a Stephen Hawking in terms of intellectual capabilities. Well, these kids that are in this plan, integrated educational plan or something like that, that are quote unquote special needs. But I'm really reluctant to use that term because the Stephen Hawking would fall into it. And, the body being broken down is not necessarily indicative of the potential that a great mind like Stephen Hawking's had, despite the fact that, as far as we know, he didn't get saved in the end. So he missed the most important wisdom that there is to miss. He was a great physicist. These kids, strangely enough, that don't seem to fit that mold, that are under this IEP plan, they're not sure if they're interested in race cars. They're not sure what they're interested in. And we give them a carburetor and a screwdriver and some wrenches and let them sit in a corner and let them decide how much hand holding they want. And I've been amazed. I've thought I must be the nerdiest, most boring old guy. People think race car drivers all look like Steve McQueen or Tom Cruise or something. That's not necessarily the case. I'm pretty boring old guy for these youngsters. And that IEP kid is still in the corner working on the carburetor enthusiastically 3 hours later. They love the affirmation that they get from us. They love being able to work at their own pace. They tend to be visual learners. And strangely enough, although my program is primarily motivated by my light switch change from like Charles Manson to Billy Graham over 30 years ago, virtually overnight, it's turned out that the program is also beneficial to a broad range of other types of situations.
I bet, man. I mean, you can go anywhere with this. Just the idea of taking something and being able to build on it. I am what I call completely anti-mechanical. Give me technology, give me cameras, give me something that's mechanical, and I usually just kind of stare at it. But I love the idea. I love the idea of being able to just like physically put my hands on something and build it. When I try, it turns out to be kind of a conglomerated mess, but a lot of people do really well with that. I tend to stick to my laptop and my cameras a lot and build that way. But I've watched, young people, and I tend to say that, I see everything as an art form. Whether you're a mechanic, when you find what it is you're here to be doing, I really do believe that that's where your art gets to explode, in this realm. And yes. These people, like, sometimes, they can grab something. I have a friend who's a car whisperer. I call him that because he can talk to a car, and the car just kind of goes, yeah, here's what's bugging me, man. And he takes care of it. And I've got another friend that's a roofer whisperer. This guy, like, he can stand in the middle of a street and look up at a roof, and he'll go like, yep, that's 22 square, and I can see that's got you're gonna have a bad piece of wood there. And we could do it. So yeah, man, when you find that thing that you're here to do, I feel like that's your art.
Oh. And sorry, sneeze.
No, go ahead. Bless you,
man. False alarm, although I'll take the blessing. Thank you.
Right on. Yeah, it just, people, man, when they find that art form and they can sink into it, and math can be an art, science can be an art, mechanics can be an art. So I think it's so cool that you found this thing how engaging is that, man? It's our race car. Come on.
Right.
Who doesn't want to sit inside a race car? Who doesn't want to put their hands on a race car? I several times when I was younger, I'd go down into Detroit, and they had hydroplane races. And I got to go down there with my cameras in the pit crews and stuff. And I've been in NASCAR and motocross and flat track racing, all kinds of cool, like really high speed adrenaline stuff, like with my cameras. And it's so exciting. You're just like this is happening right now. It's live. It's real. And here's my camera. And so I think there's a really cool atmosphere that you've created for these kids. Now, are you only doing it in California, or are you taking this plan elsewhere too?
Several answers. So I'm willing to go anywhere. We're primarily based in Southern California. The tracks at which I compete are all in Southern California, and I instruct as well. I'm a 5-time champion driver and a driving instructor. So those same kids we're talking about with the screwdriver and the carburetor in the corner, then we put them in the car at 150 to 200 miles an hour in bumper to bumper traffic. And that's when they find out whether they really love racing or not. a lot of people want to be bullfighters until they're standing in the ring and the bull is actually barreling toward them. And then they find out, no, they wanted to watch bullfighting on television or play a bullfighting video game. They didn't want the actual cost to be in the ring. So some of the kids don't ever want to drive again after what we put them through. Some of them really warm up to it, and we find that their acting out in the streets was debatably appropriately placed. Using that phrase extremely colloquially, it was in the wrong place, but it was something that they really were born to do. And those kids really excel, and they end up being motorsports professionals and champions and signing autographs instead of signing promises to appear on speeding tickets and stuff like that. So that's all pretty Southern California centric. I'm willing to go anywhere in the world that we can afford to go, resources permitting. Personally, taking the John 316 car, instructing the kid, hands-on, all that stuff, driving dignitaries around. I'm very involved in government. I hate politics, but I love government. And I think that's very on very solid footing based on an honest read of Genesis through Revelation. But that said, I'll go anywhere to drive a government official around the track with the cameras rolling, to let a government official drive our race cars. I'll take the John 316 car. I'll go there and I'll rent a car and put our colors on that rented car. There are many things, many ways this could work. In my films, I've been a producer and a director for going on 20 years, countless laurels for around 20 documentary shorts that have been seen around the world. So millions of people worldwide have gotten the anti-street racing message via our films without my actually going there. And then I get cameos in other people's films. So I've been on set in Jacksonville and Georgia and various places for my appearances in other people's films. I'm not an actor. I only do me, but I get cameos playing me, for my colors, for the driving suit and the John 316 race car and various other films, primarily with Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo, but not limited to that.
So cool. Cool.
I'll go anywhere resources permitting. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, I love it. We're going to take actually a pause right here. We're going to watch that clip. And then we're going to come in and we're going to come back and we're going to dig in a little bit and talk about the 316 car, because I think that's really neat too. So we'll take a quick break and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Hey there, change makers. Imagine a world where every small act creates a ripple of impact. At wearestarfish.org, we're turning dreams of a better tomorrow into reality. Join our global community of starfish where every person like you is a catalyst for positive change. Whether it's empowering education, environmental stewardship, or supporting local communities, we believe in the power of every individual to make a difference. Visit wearestarfish.org today and discover how you can be a part of the wave of change. Wearestarfish.org, because each one matters.
This is Aaron Schwartzbart, driver of Motor Gospel Ministry John 316 race car, and I'm excited today to be here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park for Motor Gospel Ministry's anti-street racing outreach event. The mayor of La Mirada has a street racing problem, and Mayor John Lewis is demonstrating to his constituents that he's a man of action by coming here and driving at triple-digit speeds in bumper-to-bumper traffic to demonstrate to the people of La Mirada that there is a right time and a right place for motorsports.
We have local street racers from around the area. They come over and they take over our intersections and they race down our main street. It's a big public safety issue in our streets.
There is a right time and a right place for motorsports, and that is not in the streets of La Mirada.
We need to show people how dangerous street racing is for not only the driver, but also for the passengers, as well as the people that stand by and watch this.
He's coming here to Buttonwillow Raceway Park to drive in Motor Gospel Ministries anti-street racing educational activity.
Motor Gospel Ministries is here to show us how dangerous the street racing can be.
We'll be instructing him just as we would instruct any young person that's been arrested for street racing and sentenced by the courts to community service with Motor Gospel Ministries.
Aaron Schwartzbart has gone through many of these programs with people that have been sentenced to public service.
Along with Mayor John Lewis will be the debut of Haley Nobles, Haley Nobles is a 17-year-old young lady who got community service for a speed-related infraction. Court sentences young people to come to the track with us.
I ended up at Motor Gospel because I got a speeding ticket as the sign changed into a construction zone.
Her mom moved the family to California.
We got connected with Motor Gospel, and it ended up being a great connection because we were able to do some community service, and it introduced us to something completely different.
So Haley is doing her community service with Motor Gospel Ministries behind the wheel of a cop car here at the track in our anti-street racing outreach event. Part of it is about the turn that you're in. Part of it is about the turn that's coming up. This is, by the way, the most difficult track.
I feel like my experience here has been different from other community service because I've actually had a good time.
Give it gas, put the car on the right. Point. Back. There. You're doing great, Haley. Very proud of you.
As a mom, it's always hard to let your kids do something that seems risky, but really I felt like she was in really good hands. She was safe, she was protected.
It's not worth it. It's not worth speeding out on the roads and risking getting arrested or putting yourself and others in danger.
We've had our new friends out there. They're definitely getting to experience that there's a little more to this racing stuff than meets the eye.
The safe way to do it is coming out to this track and doing it in a way where they have safety precautions to keep everyone safe.
All right, guys, back again, story to screen. I've got Aaron here, and what you were just seeing was a clip of Aaron doing what he does with the Motor Gospel. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about that clip and what was going on there.
Yeah, so Haley Nobles, excellent example. Not deliberately nefarious kid, 16, 17 years old. She got in trouble with the law in Georgia. Her mom moved the family to California. The judge in Georgia allowed her to get community service driving one of Motor Gospel Ministries race cars at the track with us, as alternative sentencing, even though he was in Georgia. So to your question about can this be nationwide? Yes, I signed paperwork for the judge in Georgia certifying that she did her time with Motor Gospel and she was cooperative and all that stuff. It was just beautiful story. Interesting side story without revealing anything that would be confidential to them. I'll just say the experience with Motor Gospel Ministries was beneficial to her and her mom in various wonderful ways that had nothing to do with a speeding ticket in Georgia. There's a lot of other stuff that can be involved. Motorsports is one of the few areas where, as long as you're with somebody who's not a chauvinist, which I'm not, somebody where, I let the person's driving ability do the talking. When we're at the track, it's all about the track. That's not the same thing as character or integrity or how pretty somebody's coif is, or anything like that. But it's kind of the yardstick, the metric at the track is, can you drive? Are you fast? And that doesn't know gender. That doesn't require testosterone or muscle tissue. There are female drivers that are way faster than I. So motorsports is one of the few sports, and it could easily be confused because there's all this nonsense about people with XY chromosomes competing in women's sports like boxing and wrestling and stuff like that. And I'm absolutely opposed to that. That's just absolute nonsense. Bruce Jenner can change his name and get all the cosmetic surgery he wants, but he can't change his chromosomes. And there is some very, very unfair stuff happening to women that are actually biological women at the hands of men who are actually biological men. This is not that. This is a sport where chromosomes don't matter. This is a sport where muscle tissue doesn't matter. This is a sport where you have to play 64th notes at 150 beats per minute on the cello, and one wrong note and you're dead, or other people are, and it's your fault. Or you have to put a scalpel into the Ben Carson, brain surgeon. You have to put a scalpel into the baby's head. And if your cut is off by 1/64th of an inch, you could paralyze the baby. This is a sport that requires that kind of finesse. And that kind of finesse can be found in both genders equally easily. So our program, although it's not primarily aimed at empowering women that might have come from abusive situations and things like that, it's actually very good for that. Motorsports is one of the few places where a woman can kick a man's butt without it being anything illegal, and be congratulated for it and respected for her driving ability. So
I could totally see a lot of women gravitating toward that. Like, hold on, wait a second, let me get this straight. I get to drive super fast.
Yes.
I get to kick a guy's butt.
Yes.
And I get to win, and nobody's going to say that. Like, I can see women really digging it.
Right. And the subset amongst us, and it's the vast majority of us. Chauvinism is very much a thing of the past in a big way in motorsports. It still exists, but it's greatly reduced compared to what it was 50 years ago. The vast majority of us would be out there buying her a beer and shaking her hand and stuff like that if we got beat by her. We tend to respect somebody based not on their gender or whatever. We tend to respect them based on who got to the checkered flag first. And if that happens to be a woman, well, then so be it.
At the end of the day, it's about the performance, whether it's music or film or racing, or it's always, it's what did you do when you were there? So talk to us about
mom, so Haley's. Sorry, so just to briefly finish that thought again, without sharing personal stuff to them, Haley's mom was definitely stepping outside her comfort zone on Haley's behalf. Haley's mom did not love driving fast. She was not really interested in racing, but she got behind the wheel, and Haley they both came as students. Her mom got behind the wheel, totally outside her comfort zone, to support her daughter. And it was really a moment of bonding for them and stuff. Really cool stuff happened besides just serving the time with the judge and the community service and all that stuff. And then the mayor of La Mirada came the same weekend, and he was one of our students. So we had the mayor of La Mirada coming from a very vaunted position, not in trouble with the law, representing his constituency, to send the message that there's a right time and a right place for motorsports, and that's not in the streets of La Mirada. And then we had this young girl who was there not because she had deliberately nefarious motives, but because she liked driving fast, and she was doing it in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it was just all smiles by the end of the day.
That's really cool, the impact you're able to have on these people's lives. So
thank you.
So the 316 car, how did that come about?
Right. So after 2 years of seminary, I entered Talbot Seminary in 1998. I thought I gave up my passion, which was racing, put it on the altar, prayed, Lord, how can I bleed for you? My understanding of the God of Genesis to Revelation was a God of thankless sacrifice, not the God of quote unquote Christian hedonism. In the 60s, we said, if it feels good, do it. And lots of babies got conceived out of wedlock because of that. And people jumped off buildings blazing on LSD and stuff because they thought they could fly and stuff because of that brand of hedonism. Today, we have quote unquote Christian hedonism that says if it feels good, God must have put that feeling there. He must have put that desire in your heart. Well, not every desire in our heart comes from God. Some desires in our heart come from God. Some desires in our heart come from Satan. Some desires in our heart probably come from just biology. I don't know. I'm a physicist, not a biologist. I know nuts and bolts better than I know flesh and bones. But I came to believe in 1998 that God was calling me to serve him, and I was expecting that to be sacrificial. I turned from pleasure. I turned from hedonism. I turned from my own passion, which was driving like a homicidal maniac. I put it on the altar. I prayed fervently and completely sincerely, much like Solomon saying, give me wisdom. He didn't ask for riches and wealth. He asked for wisdom. I prayed, Lord, give me your guidance as to how I may bleed for you. Make me kneel on broken glass. Make me go and serve you in the jungle where they don't have flush toilets and they don't have Starbucks and such. Everything that I would hate in ministry. And in response to that, he gave me this really cheap 914 a guy had too many cars, and his wife told him, you got to get rid of one of these cars. And the 914 with a Buick 3.8 liter Buick in it was amazing little hot rod that he had put a bunch of money in, and he sold it really, really inexpensively. He was literally nearly in tears speaking to the car. We as Christians, we don't worship cars. It's going to be rust one day. We don't make an idol out of a car. This guy was not a Christian. He was literally speaking to the car, nearly in tears as I was driving away, apologizing to the car. My heart broke for him. He really loved this car, but the matching part number 66 Corvette Stingray that he had was far more valuable than this hot rod 914 with a, it was bastardized by putting a 3.8 Buick in it, made it much faster than it ever was with the original Porsche motor, but it made it not valuable like a matching part number Stingray. So that was the start. That was a reward to myself after the first couple of years of seminary of getting a little Bible certificate. And there was no motor gospel. There was no John 3:16 car. I came to believe God called me to put John 3:16 on the car. For a parade, I slapped some vinyl on the doors that said John 3:16 and some really cheesy purple field on the hood, the front trunk, and a red cross on the front trunk just for the parade, thinking it would stay on there for one day because I'm totally not handy. It's funny what you were saying about not working with mechanical stuff. Strangely enough, I'm not great at that stuff either. I'm not a great craftsman. God has chosen to put me in a position to lead people in this automotive thing since 2001, even though I'm not a great mechanic and I'm not a great craftsman. I surround myself with great mechanics and craftsmen. Many people have come alongside, but I'm not great at everything. I put this really cheesy stuff on the car, thinking it would stay on there in a hurry the night before the parade, thinking it would stay on there for one day. 23 years later, the John 3:16 car is a household word. We have 5 championships in the car. Millions of people have seen the branding on television, ABC, wow, NBC, Sky News, Fox, CBS, all over the place. That all came from slapping some stuff on the side, taking a chance. And Christians actually discouraged me from doing it. Many Christians with the best of intentions said, dude, this is off-putting. This is just way too out. That's not the right way to lead people to Christ. That's not the right way to love on people. That's totally putting the gospel in their face. Loud, uncorked headers, John 3:16 on the door, Jesus saves on the rear trunk, big enough to be read by a helicopter, way up in the air. And 24 years later, apparently God has confirmed that this was his call in my life. He gave me that call to do my great passion and has confirmed it in many ways, in response to my sincere, earnest prayer. How can I bleed for you? I'm done with that. I'm done with my pleasures. I'm done with my passions. How can I bleed for you?
That's awesome. That is, yeah. I mean, I get the same thing with cameras regularly. There's a group that I went to go visit with them. I spent time with them so they could get to know my heart and know that I wasn't there to make a buck off of them. I was there to literally promote what they were doing and show the world something very unique and beautiful that they brought to the table. And I just, I got shut down for bringing my camera in, and I'm like, well, how did you think that I would showcase what you're doing to the world without my camera? Like that's what I'm here for, is to film this, to document this, and to show the world, hey, this is what some people are doing, and it works really well, and it's beautiful. And if that's not what you understood, my apologies, but that's what I'm here for, man. And I've had people say to me several times that, it's not right to put God on camera or whatever. And I'm just like, well, the devil's wasting no time on it. So I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't know any other way to light up a stage than to put a camera on it. So if I'm going to light something up, I might as well like make it him.
Yep.
So I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
When some of the film work that you do with all of this, obviously it's very apparent that everything that you're doing is changing lives. It is helping young people, which is everything this show is all about. So I don't really have to drive that one home with our audience this time. But what about the music side of what you do? Now, are you a musician also? Are you teaming up with musicians to bring music to life in this? Or?
Sure. No, I can't. My call is so unusual in various regards. One of which is I came out of the womb playing, and I come from a family of musicians. I was playing before I was reading and writing, and music is the singular thing for which I'm most suited. Unmistakably, as we get to know each other better, you'll judge for yourself. I'll show you my music. I'll show you my driving. I'll show you my wrenching. I'll show you my rocket science. I'm an award-winning rocket scientist for 40 years, and you'll find mediocrity in my rocket science compared to a Stephen Hawking or an Albert Einstein. I'm barely a lab technician compared to those guys. I almost don't have the right to call myself a physicist, despite having a degree in physics and, millions of dollars worth of paycheck stubs for 40 years worth of, that sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot over 40 years, obviously.
Well,
You'll
especially
find
in California.
Right. You'll find mediocrity in my rocket science compared to by Stephen Hawking's, Albert Einstein standards. You'll find mediocrity in my driving and my 5 championships. My 5 championships are borderline participation trophies next to a Richard Petty or an Al Unser or a Mario Andretti or somebody. You'll find mediocrity in my driving compared to these guys that are really up there. You'll certainly find mediocrity in my wrenching compared to an Ed Iskandarian or any of the great builders that have Smokey Unick. You'll find mediocrity in all of these things. You'll listen to my music and judge for yourself. Don't take my word for it. You'll not find mediocrity. You'll find that I'm the best in the world at what I do musically. I'm far from the best in the world at rocket science. I'm far from the best in the world at driving. I'm far from the best in the world at wrenching. And yet, for whatever reason, I've not believed that God has called me to use music as the primary platform for serving him. And he doesn't owe us any explanations. He
does have a funny sense of humor too, man. I've found very, very rarely does he take what I'm strong at and go like, yeah, go ahead and do this for people. Like, right. I tell people, after having exclaimed and every single person that's ever met me understands I am mechanically uninclined. And I did a little short stint for a little while because I was trying to raise money for the 501c3 and I couldn't really find good ways to do it. And then all of a sudden something got dropped in my lap, and it was, you'll laugh when you hear it. It was go pick up this huge, I can't even tell you how big it was because that's how uninclined I am to understand what I was doing. Go pick up this huge dump trailer and attach it to a 2,500 diesel truck and drive it around town and pick up roofing shingles from roofers and go dump their dumps, and that way I could make extra money for Starfish. And
wow.
And I'm just like, hold on, wait a minute, what? You want me to do what? And I remember the first time like it was yesterday. I'm driving this truck down the road and I'm like, please God, please God, please God, please God, please God. And then I get to the dump for the first time and it's a hill. I don't know if all landfills are hills, but this is a hill. And I've never been to a lot of landfills, and I hadn't been to any before that. But I'm driving up this landfill going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, please stop. I got the praise and worship music going. You're looking at me like I'm insane because I'm like literally I'm just like, please, Jesus, please, Jesus.
Right,
like,
right.
Right here, right
Needs
now.
of sweat.
It was. He's such a funny guy, man. I mean, and so it does not surprise me that he would take something that you do so beautifully well and set it aside and go like, yeah, well, let's have you do this instead. This will be fun.
Right.
You'll need me for this one. So
right. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. It's insane. So I'm excited to hear your music, which means I'm going to throw in an extra break right here because you're going to send me some music.
Okay.
And we're going to play your music right here. And I don't even know what we're going to play. So it'll be that kind of fun. So here we go. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about your music. Do you have anything in mind that would be the song you would want to send me to play?
Yeah, 2 answers. The one that is most incendiary and timely that people need to hear right now is not my best work. Almost everything I do is flawed. Remember, I used the M word, mediocrity. I was saying you'll see mediocrity in my physics compared to Einstein. You'll see mediocrity in my driving compared to Richard Petty. You'll see mediocrity in my wrenching compared to Smokey Unick. And yet in my music, you will find no mediocrity. I'm the only one that does what I do, and I'm really good at it. Although I want you to judge for yourself. That doesn't mean flawless. My standards musically are impossibly high, even for myself. I rarely live up to my musical standards. In 61 years, I've been playing for about over 55 years. I started like 5 years old or something. I rarely live up to my own standards. You will find flaws in everything I play. And yet I'm very satisfied with some of what I've played. And I'm unashamed in my feeling that you'll judge for yourself. You won't hear anybody else doing what I do. So hardly my least flawed performance is 59 seconds of very incendiary, very strong pro-Israel, pro-Second Amendment extremism, if you will. And I should use that word carefully because there are forces in the people that stole the Oval Office and their puppet, Joe Biden, trying to label as extremists anybody that opposes, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Hamas, the people that want to perpetrate mayhem in this great nation of ours want to label everybody as an extremist that would stand in the way of the perpetration of mayhem. So those of us that want safety and prosperity in the community and common sense, and we want to look to the right and look to the left and love all our neighbors, regardless of the color of their skin, and love all our neighbors, regardless of their country of origin, as long as they came here not to do harm. We're a nation of immigrants. The 100 million of us that are immigrants or descendants of immigrants that came here to find freedom from propaganda, fraudulent elections, censorship of objective truth, imprisonment without due process, ethnic cleansing. The 100 million plus of us that came here to escape those things, we are in the way of the people who would destroy this great nation. And they're very quick to label us as extremists. So the most important musical message that I would want you to share is not my best performance. It's 59 seconds. You'll judge for yourself. I could similarly give you what I think is one of my least flawed performances. If you would prefer that to see, excellence in the craft, I'm equally happy with either.
I actually want to take both now. You got me. I want both. So
Great,
we're going to listen to both. And,
okay, great.
And then we're going to come back and we're going to make sure that everybody knows how to find you.
Okay.
Because we definitely want to be able to steer people toward you. And then, I'm quite sure we're going to have a long and interesting relationship, Aaron. So we're going to take a pause. We're going to listen to some music and then we're going to be right back. We'll see you guys on the flip side.
Give me a J, justice. Give me a J for Jerusalem. Give me a J, justice. Give me a J for Jerusalem. Give me a J for Jesus. Every knee is gonna bow to him. street-driven imports ain't choice. If you don't know, there's a sharp contrast between playing a video game and driving cars too fast. And you're probably not man enough to handle the heat when you're stuck in a tree on the side of the street. If you hit a little kid, a lot of people talk smack, and there's nothing you can do that'll bring the kid back. Silly little wannabe, you chose to play the fool. You ran into a little kid, now you're not so cool. Go back to playing station, ain't ready to be a racer. You saw the boy's mom and Gordon couldn't even face her. But silly little wannabe, there's hope for guys like you. I got trophies now, but was a wannabe too. Come to County Speedway and see how we roll. Learning to drive and save your life or even save your soul. You know how to think twice when you get behind the wheel. Street race, other place to race, no matter how you feel. Street race, southern hill, quick the bumps in the street. Street race to the track with the big dog seat. Street race, think twice when you get behind the wheel. Street race, other place to race, no matter how you feel. Street race, southern hill, quick the bumps in the street. Street race to the track with the big dog seat. Residential zones, driving like an outlaw. If only I had known that there's a God in heaven who has a plan for me. I never would have rocked the streets so irresponsibly. Now I'm born again, you could say that I've been blessed. I serve my Lord and Savior, driving the fastest pulpit in the West. Gospel ministries from track to track, spreading the gospel word and taking the streets back.
Lord Jesus, you're on this track. I surrender with all my heart and soul. And that's how I go.
Twice when you get behind the wheel. Street race, other place to race, no matter how you feel. Street race, southern hill, quick the bumps in the street. Street race to the track with the big dog seat. Street race, twice when you get behind the wheel. Street race, other place to race, no matter how you feel. Street race, southern hill, quick the bumps in the street. Street race to the track with the big dog seat. Street race.
Don't think that I don't feel hunger, Steve. I should be
Street race.
This radio is powered by Streamlion, the superior internet radio hosting service that provides our SOCAN license coverage. Visit streamlion.com for more.
Hey there, changemakers. Imagine a world where every small act creates a ripple of impact. At wearestarfish.org, we're turning dreams of a better tomorrow into reality. Join our global community of starfish where every person like you is a catalyst for positive change. Whether it's empowering education, environmental stewardship, or supporting local communities, we believe in the power of every individual to make a difference. Visit wearestarfish.org today and discover how you can be a part of the wave of change. Wearestarfish.org, because each one matters.
Hey guys, back again. I've got Aaron here, and this has been just a very surprise, sporadic, and interesting interview, which, you know, always I have fun with it. You guys know me by now. I'm enjoying the heck out of all this, so I hope you are too. Aaron, the stuff that we were just listening to, can you give us a little bit of background on it?
Yes. So my mom had a vibrato. My mom was a violinist, and she had a vibrato that would make a grown man cry. The toughest, most folks of the younger generation, I'm 61. I still remember some stuff from a ways back. You know, many of the people on the face of the planet, and possibly your audience right now, don't remember a time when music was primarily produced by skilled musicians on musical instruments. Beats were not something that you programmed into a computer and then hit play. Putting together that string of painstaking beats. Beats were something that were created by a skilled percussionist like Buddy Rich. And when you have music that is produced by musicians on musical instruments, it's a whole different skill set than just programming some math into a computer and pressing play. If you can't play it live on an instrument, a warm wooden instrument with catgut or nylon and sticks and animal skins and things like that, and do something that makes people weep with tears of joy, something that 1 out of 1 million people could do, it's a little bit debatable whether you're actually a musician. These terms are not precise terms, obviously. Using the word precise colloquially, not as a physicist, these terms are not precise terms, but, debatably somebody putting a bunch of notes into a laptop where they don't actually have to execute these notes flawlessly, and then pressing play. Debatably, they might be like a composer or a programmer or something. Debatably, they're not even a musician if they can't do it live. So there was a time, maybe perhaps before most of you were born, when somebody playing the violin would be able to play something very sentimental and heartrending. And if you could make that tough as nails Marine drill sergeant cry, if you could crack that hard shell with your violin, you were really a violinist. You were really doing something. There's something almost supernatural. I don't want to over spiritualize it, but it's not anything that can be bought. It's not anything that can be taught. It's not anything that can be programmed into a machine. It's not anything that some corporate suit can figure out how to replicate profitably. When you have that left hand on the fingerboard and you have the right touch with that left hand, that's not a digital thing like pushing a button. That's a tactile, it's a sensory thing. It's a sound, it's a feel, and it's unique to somebody who's not here anymore. My mom passed away. My mom and dad died 3 weeks apart at 88 and 92 years old. She was 92. Toward the end, she was losing her memory. She not only couldn't remember how to play the violin, she couldn't even remember that she ever had played the violin. And she was a violinist for 65 years and a music instructor and stuff. And she had a vibrato that we'll never hear that vibrato again. It was unique to her, and it could. That sentimental sound on that violin would make the toughest man cry like a baby. It was amazing. Well, I believe that I inherited my left hand from my mom. Most keyboard players, you may or may not be aware, that our flashiness and all that stuff comes from our right hand. That presuming you're a right-handed keyboard player, and there are no left-handed pianos that I'm aware of. So it's an interesting thing where you could get a left-handed guitar, you don't get a left-handed piano. The left hand is kind of doing bass lines and sort of rhythmic things and stuff. The right hand is doing more of the beautiful melodies and chords and flashy solos and stuff. Well, I picked up a keytar, an impersonal plastic box of microchips in maybe 1984 or something like that. And the keytar is a synthesizer of sorts. It doesn't have nylon. It doesn't have catgut. It doesn't have wood or anything like that. It has a bunch of impersonal microchips in it. And you press keys that are basically like pushing buttons. There could be some velocity sensitivity and pressure sensitivity to the keys, but for the most part, you don't have that tactile stuff like what my mom had going on with her left hand on the fingerboard of the violin that would make a grown man cry by just pressing keys on a keyboard. Well, I, as a keyboard player, a right-handed keyboard player, put my left hand on that ribbon on the neck of the keytar. The ribbon on the neck of the keytar is more reminiscent of the fingerboard on a violin. It doesn't have frets. It's not digital. It's not incremented in precise increments. You can slide up and down it and bend the pitch and put in vibrato and things like that. And I really came to believe that I've inherited my mom's left hand, because I do things with the left hand on the ribbon of the keytar that are reminiscent of that very sentimental, tactile thing that my mom did on the violin that's not with us anymore, that can't be replicated, can't be bought, can't be taught, can't be programmed, can't be, it's kind of a one-of-a-kind thing. So I take that keytar, which is like an impersonal plastic box of microchips. It was a bubblegum pop novelty in the 80s. It was like a video game or something, a pinball machine or something. No soul to it, no feel to it. And I play it like B.B. King, and I play it like Carlos Santana, and I play it like Stefan Grappelli, a great violinist. I make people cry with the keytar the way my mom did with the violin. You'll judge for yourself, of course.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I can say that.
Yeah. The other thing, sorry to briefly interrupt, is loud. I believe that 100 million of us immigrants and descendants of immigrants that came here to escape fraudulent state-run media, to escape sham elections, to escape deceitful propaganda, to escape censorship of those who speak objective truth, to escape imprisonment without due process, to escape ethnic cleansing. Those 100 million of us are not being anywhere near as loud as we could be. If we would simply use our First Amendment while we still have it, cancel culture would cease to be relevant. And so the other thing I do with the keytar, besides making people weep, is I shred as loud and noticeably as I can. I stand out on the sidewalk every Friday night in Granada Hills at our food truck festival, shredding Van Halen and Guns N' Roses and Lynyrd Skynyrd and stuff like that. Extremely loud, deliberately loud. So much that I can't hear people shrieking for me to turn it down. as long as you can't hear them, I guess they don't exist, right? And I hand out free Bibles. I answer questions about our faith. I hand out tracts and anti-street racing literature. We pray for people, and we do it all in the context of shredding extremely loud, hard rock and roll that people can hear a mile away. People might never come to church, but they know the guy who shreds Van Halen every Friday night and gives out free Bibles. Sanitized versions of these songs, by the way. Rocket Queen by Guns N' Roses. Sure. You know, it's basically like the soundtrack from a porn movie in the lyrics, but the music is beautiful music for those of us that love rock and roll. So I do sanitized instrumental versions.
Awesome. I love all of it, Aaron. It's been awesome talking to you. And I look forward to lots more. How do people find you? Because you've got so much that you know we want to share with people, and so much that we hope people dig into. So how do they find you?
Sure. Look at my IMDb page under my name, Aaron Schwartzbart. I don't have a sepaate handle, and I'm the only Aaron Schwartzbart on there, I think. Look at my IMDb page if you're interested in my movie production. Motorgospel.org is my website, motorgospel.org, just like it sounds. It's currently undergoing renovation, but there's nothing hanging. It is complete. It's just not complete. It's complete as a placeholder. It's not telling you the whole story. If you want to hear or see lots more, simply Google Aaron Schwartzbart or Google Motor Gospel. You'll see all kinds of press releases and videos and such. Motor Gospel is my channel on YouTube. On Facebook, I'm Aaron Schwartzbart, and there's Motor Gospel Ministries, and there's Motor Gospel Youth Center. On Instagram, I'm just Aaron Schwartzbart. There might be a dot in there. I can't remember, Aaron Schwartzbart or Aaron.Schwartzbart. On Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days, I'm at AA Schwartzbart. Email me at motorgospel@gmail.com. Call me or text me at 818-620-7132. That's 818-620-7132. I think that's about it.
Love it. Awesome. Aaron, it's been an extreme pleasure in meeting you, talking to you, listening to you. And I hope to see lots and lots more of you and watch you just thrive at what you do. You're impacting people left and right everywhere you go. I appreciate you for everything that you do. So thank you.
The feeling is very mutual, and I can't wait to continue the dialogue. Thank you for this.
All right, guys. Remember, every Tuesday night, same time, same channel, same place, you'll find out Story to Screen right here, KPEO Radio, and right here on wearestarfish.org, Story to Screen. See you on the flip side. All right, I'm going to end that recording.
Hey there, changemakers. Imagine a world where every small act creates a ripple of impact. At wearestarfish.org, we're turning dreams of a better tomorrow into reality. Join our global community of starfish where every person like you is a catalyst for positive change. Whether it's empowering education, environmental stewardship, or supporting local communities, we believe in the power of every individual to make a difference. Visit wearestarfish.org today and discover how you can be a part of the wave of change. Wearestarfish.org, because each one matters.
This radio is powered by Streamlion, the superior internet radio hosting service that provides our SOCAN license coverage. Visit streamlion.com for more.
Give it up, yes, I'm ready. Give it up, feel the flames. It's bound to eat you. Head up a beast of prey. Give it up, yes, I'm ready. Give it up, feel the flames. It's bound to beat you. Beat you at your own game.
Thanks for spending some time here at Story to Screen on KPEO World Community Radio. I'm your host, Erik Krefeld, and we're rocking the film world every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can download the app or listen live, or catch the replay at wearestarfish.org, because each one matters. Catch you next week on Story to Screen. Keep supporting film and music. It's the story we tell that matters.